What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. Now, today's video is not about video games. It has a video game in it, but it's not about video games. Now, I've done this for about 2 years now, and I really enjoy it. I make it a point to try to read books so that my whole life isn't dedicated primarily to just playing video games. And I usually go for about a book a month. So anytime I can get 12 to 13 books in a year, I'm a happy man. And I talk about these books. Now, this may not be your cup of tea. You may just want the video game aspect, and I understand that. No qualms, not offended. But for those of you, like me, who do still enjoy reading books, I talk about the books I read throughout the year, and I give a little spiel. I'm no professional book reviewer. I just kind of give you my thoughts about the books, and hopefully you like it. With all that said, let's get on with the books that I read in 2024. So first and foremost is The Elite, The One, The Heir, and The Crown. And I have these all together because these are all part of the same series. 2 years ago, I started the very first one, which was called The Selection. Now, this came about because I was talking about how much I can't stand shows like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette and all that good stuff. And a friend of mine said, hey, you should really read these books. I really like them. I think you'd like them. And I figured, whatever, like, I'll try it. And I read the first one, and it was actually pretty dang good. It wasn't that bad. So, of course, I ended up reading the next 5 so I could read them all, or the next 4 so I could read them all. This is about, in the future, America has been destroyed by war and rebuilt with a class system. Number 1s are at top, and number 8s are on the bottom. A selection is started to find a new princess and future queen. And this is not a bad read, honestly. I know some of you guys have already tuned out, but it's actually pretty decent. It's not like teeny bopper rom-com. It's pretty good. It kept me engaged and was very light on the dating, teenage romance crap that I was worried about. I will tell you, though, that the first 3 books focus on the current prince and his story of finding a wife. The last 2 books are about his daughter and her process of finding a prince. Now, that storyline, the one about the daughter, the last 2 books, is not as good as the first one. They're still worth the time I spent reading them, but realistically, the first 3 are the much better books of the series. If you got to do this in the dark when no one's around, I get it. But, swallow your pride and check these books out if you want. Next up is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. The timeless classic about a scientist creating life, instantly regretting the creation and trying to kill it. And then, its creation, hunting down the scientist and killing those closest to him. What a heartwarming story. All kidding aside, you should read this book at least once. It delves into the ideas of giving and taking life, the consequences of your actions, and every creature's right to happiness. If you've seen most of the Frankenstein movies, I think you'll be surprised how different the book actually is. Next up, we have Animal Farm by George Orwell. Now, I read this book in grade school and was just amazed by talking animals, completely missing the point of the story. Animal Farm is about the upper and lower class in society, how the upper class will do anything to keep control over the lower class. There are quite a few similarities to be found in our day as well. I enjoyed trying to figure out which animal I would have been. Would I have been the hardworking horse who did it for the greater good, or would I have been a pig who profited off the sufferings of others? Either way, this is a really good book. If you guys haven't read this book in a while, I'd say pick it up and read it again. Next up is The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. Now, this book was tough to read. It was tough because this book was based off of actual events going on in Chicago meatpacking plants during the 1910s. The amount of suffering and misery people had to and were willing to endure just to eke out a living is beyond my comprehension. Like, you legitimately think that your life is tough or whatever in this day and age when you've got a cell phone and the internet and all that good stuff. Man, reading this book, you realize, like, dude, life was insane barely 100 years ago. Like, you died just stepping out your front door sometimes. It was crazy. The owners of the plants would put the workers at risk to literally save a penny. You would think the workers would band together to lift each other up, but not so. There was greed and ruthless ambition at all levels during that time. I'm glad I read this book, but I don't think I have the stomach to read it again. 2 on a Big Ocean. I think this was my favorite book of the year. Now, I love all things ocean and ocean traveling and the open seas and all that stuff. I absolutely love anything I can get my hands on that talks about the ocean. In this book, a couple buys and fixes up a boat. They spend about a year trying to learn how to sail. They've never done it before, but they just did it on a whim. They sail out of San Francisco and they travel around the Ring of Fire on the Pacific Ocean. They write about the perils of the open ocean, them learning how to do the job and how to maintain the boat on the fly, but they also write about the beautiful places they visit and the wonderful people they meet along the way. Now, if any of this appeals to you, make it a point to read this book. Now, I don't think I'm going to end up being the captain of my own ship and taking my ship out in the open waters like this, but man, do I love reading about it. And this book just scratched that itch so perfectly. Next up is A Tale of Two Cities. From the classic first line of "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times," A Tale of Two Cities is about a historical novel published in 1859 by English author Charles Dickens, set in London and Paris before and during the French Revolution. The novel tells the story of the French Dr. Manet, his 18-year-long imprisonment in the Bastille in Paris, and his release to live in London with his daughter Lucie, who he had never met. The story is set against the conditions that led up to the French Revolution and the Reign of Terror. Now, while reading this book, you learn to despise the quote-unquote good guys, and you find out how quickly people become the very thing they hated. It's a great book. It's focused on how just destructive revenge can be. I really enjoyed reading this book. Next up, we have The Witches. Now, I watched The Witches as a child probably once a week as a kid. When I finally found out it was a book, I was so excited to read it. This is a children's book by Roald Dahl. There are witches in the world, and the thing they hate the most are little kids, especially clean little kids. They smell like dog's droppings. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. In the book, a child is caught by the witches and turned into a mouse. With the help of his grandma and other child mice, he goes on an adventure to stop the witches from capturing all the children in London. It was a fun read, but I'd say watch the movie once you get done reading the book. Not the 2019 movie with Anne Hathaway. It wasn't very good. I mean, like the original 80s movie. That one is the best one. Next up, we have Things Fall Apart. Published in 1958 by Nigerian author Chinua Achebe, the book is about an African tribesman from a fictional tribe watching his world slowly fall apart due to the encroachment of British colonialism and Christianity. The tribesman tries to avoid the new settlers, but slowly the other tribes begin to give in, and this leads to confrontation. At first, I wanted to side with the tribesmen and feel sorry for them. But after reading about certain brutal tribe traditions that are passed down, you start to wonder if it's not for the best that they become modernized. Thankfully, that decision is left up to the reader to make and not to me. This was a really interesting book to read. I think I read it when I was a little kid, but I don't think I actually did. I have fond memories of it, but man, this book was brutal, and I think I would have been scared as a kid. There's a lot of stuff that they do in there that you're thinking, man, that is disturbing, you know? And so after a while, you start, at least I told myself, like, it's not the worst thing that they're not just brutally killing people on the spot. Like, maybe it's for the best that they kind of learn to adapt. Anyway, give it a shot. It's a good book. The final book on this list is The K. Now, this book is set during World War II, and it's about a young white teenager and an older black man who are left stranded on a remote island after the passenger boat they were on was torpedoed by a German submarine. They have to work past their racial and cultural differences to survive. Although the book was focused on racism and prejudice, I absolutely love the friendships that formed between the two of them and how they made the most with what they had. The teenager had to swallow his pride and rely on the skills of the seasoned adult, and the adult had to open up and learn to help the helpless teenager. This was really a good book to read, and there's a sequel to it called Timothy of the K that kind of gives their backstories. I'm in the process of reading that right now, but do yourself a favor and read The K. I think, like me, you will enjoy it. Anyways, there is the list of the books that I read in 2024. I hope my brief little excerpts have piqued some interest in some of you to read some of these books. And if you guys know of any good books that you've recently read or thinking about reading, go ahead and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know which books I should read. As always, take some time to play a video game or to read a book. Doesn't have to be any one of these, but why the heck not? Be good people, be good to those around you, and keep on gaming.